Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now, here's your host, Bruce Hutchin.
This is Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast, episode number 292.
Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is your host, Bruce Hutchin, and we're heading out to Knightstown, Indiana, and Tim Conley. Tim's been chasing a pretty nice buck for a number of years, and this year he finally closed the deal, and it's really an interesting story. There's a lot of lessons learned and tips and techniques woven into Tim's story, and Tim's quite a storyteller, so I'm just going to sit back just like you and listen to the story of his big buck. Congratulations, Tim. Hey, listeners, don't forget to text 33444 Food Plot for your free Food Plot ebook. Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is your host, Bruce Hutchin, and we're heading out to Knightstown, Indiana, and visiting with Tim Conley. Tim, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Bruce. It's great to be with you today.
Well, folks, social media is such a wonderful platform because a lot of people put does and spike bucks, and every once in a while somebody will put up a wall hanger, and Tim did that. So I reached out to him, and here he's on the show. So, Tim, we might as well start right off with tell us about that buck. That's a buck of a lifetime.
Well, it's a good buck. I had a few bucks I was watching on trail camera. Obviously, a 4-year-old mid-140s buck is not a buck you're going to pass around here. I think the deer had a lot of potential for next year, but with Indiana having his first year for a rifle season, I actually shot him first day of gun season, and with a bow, was bow hunting. I'm a hardcore bow hunter, but you just don't let a deer like that walk. But reviewing trail camera pictures, I had a couple other deer that I probably would have rather shot and let this one get a little bigger. He had some potential because they were older deer, but this one kept haunting me over and over and over. The story of this buck is a roller coaster ride from start to finish, and it's been quite an adventure, I guess I'll say, this season. I filmed for the bowhunting.com, the Bowhunter Die show. This is my second year filming with them. So, when you enjoy bow hunting, when you enjoy watching bow hunting shows, and you get the itch to do that, and you get the opportunity, as Todd Graff and the crew there gave me, you find out that self-filming is got quite a bit higher difficulty level than what it looks like when you're watching it in a show. So, most of my roller coaster with this particular buck had a lot to do with trying to catch it all on camera. I didn't have a lot of deer activity for the second year in a row. Didn't have a whole lot of summer deer activity here on my small farm. I have about 40 acres of my own property. It's a good 40 acres. I'm tucked in around bigger properties where all the activity comes through me. But I'm in Indiana. I'm in the middle of corn and soybean country. So, those Eagle Seed forage soybeans that I plant that draw the deer in, makes it great for late season when all the crops are harvested. It makes it great, really, when soybeans and stuff start maturing field soybeans, because forage soybeans stay green until the frost kills them. So that lets some deer move in. But summertime activity, it's kind of free roam. Them deer got all they want. So sit and you wait to see what's going to show up, and really the activity didn't start until toward the end of October as far as trail camera stuff. But out of the bucks we've seen, this deer probably had the nicest rack, just a beautiful rack, big tall tines, and like I say, you kind of hoped in a way he didn't show up, but you sure wasn't going to pass him if he did. Well, he became the deer. I had watching trail cameras. I changed a few things up this year. last year, I'll jump back to last season. I really didn't see a buck from the stand that I wanted to shoot. Long, disappointing season and frustrating. So I decided I'd change a few things up. I'm kind of a crafty guy. I retired this year, and I spent time and made up 10 different camera bases to hold my camera on for filming. Put them in every tree that I planned on hunting. Some trees I didn't even make it to the hunt, but that way I've got a little easier setup when I get to a tree. You know, you're out there before dark, after dark, breaking stuff around. You know, the big deer don't get big accidentally. They're pretty savvy. They know that stuff's going on, you know. So the other thing I watched for this year is my entrances. I tried not to cross a track where I thought the deer was going to be coming from. Played to win like I always do. But really, if I had to retire, I could hunt every day if I wanted to. If I needed to skip a morning hunt or an afternoon hunt just because the wind wouldn't be right, because I could get in a stand that maybe I could hunt for 2 or 3 sets in a row, I'd skip, so I wasn't doing a lot of breaking down and setting up. I'm the guy that leaves all my equipment hanging right there in the tree since I'm hunting on my own property. And anyway, those changes, I was on to a lot of deer this year. The trail camera showed me in my north field that I ought to be able to kill this buck. So I hunted that north field quite a bit, and I got a clover patch that runs through that. It's all grown up. I purposely let the habitat grow up to make it where deer is going to want to be around there and travel through that corridor of my north field. But I've got a clover patch that runs north and south from one end to the other, and got a stand in both ends of it. So depending on the wind direction, it's which end of that field I'm in. But regardless, the trail cameras on both ends of that showed that was going to be a place to get on that buck. I had my first encounter with that buck of an evening. He came out of the bedding area where I think was his main bedding area, and it was still shooting hours. He came right in the clover, just like the trail cameras had been showing that he'd been doing a little later after dark, but he came in there, but just didn't have enough camera light to film. And, you know, probably a little further. That first encounter was probably a little further than I would want to shoot anyway. Just didn't have the opportunity because I couldn't get it on camera. So next morning, the wind was going to shift. I was in the opposite side of that. Actually, the side he came out on the night before. Crawled up in the tree. There again, just got up there. Didn't really have the camera mounted yet. And boom, I turned around. There's 2 bucks, 10, 15 yards under me in that clover. Not just moving through. They're standing there munching on clover, and he was one of them. No camera set up, you know, just wouldn't hang around long enough to let daylight get there. I wasn't going to be able to move and get the camera put up. I had to let him leave before I could even set the camera out. So the struggle is beginning to be real about now. You know, this is toward the end. This is toward the end of October, and you know, they're just starting to move a little bit, but. Kind of hung with it. On November the 4th, I had my first really good encounter. I was in the south end of that clover up there, and along the north end of my field, moving to the west, here through the brush and the grown-up field. There I see this magnificent rack going up through there. I get the camera on him, get him zoomed. Got good footage of him coming all the way up through there. Come around the bend there, appeared in the clover. You know, just that impressive shot that you want. And walked over, got a place he goes into the thicket there at about 60 yards. There again, I'm just not comfortable with that 60-yard shot across there. So I have to let him walk. Well, that particular day, I've never been much of a rattler. I know a lot of guys do. I've never had much success with it, and probably why I don't have a lot of confidence in it. I did rattle one buck in years ago and shot the buck with my bow, but other than that, I've not had a whole lot of success to brag about. But one of the 6-year-old bucks I found both his sheds from last year. And that particular morning, I thought to myself, you know, I was going to pull an all-dayer. I packed a sandwich in my bag, and went out there, and it was the time of year, November 4th. I mean, that's the time of year if you're going to pull some all-day sets, that's the time to do it. That was going to be my first all-day set. But I thought, well, I kind of think at least that one buck's bedding off to the west of me there in a known bedding area. A lot of trail camera activity coming out of there. Seen him a couple times, going through there. I think, and I'm going to take them rattle antlers with me. And what my intention was, kind of getting off the subject a little bit, but what my intention was to take that set of sheds that I found from that 6-year-old buck and see if I possibly, during midday, after things calmed down a little bit, see if I couldn't rattle that 6-year-old buck in with his own shed antlers. So that's the reason I had shed antlers. I typically don't take them with me, but I had those shed antlers with me. Wasn't this deer, a different deer. But anyway, after this particular buck, this long time 10, skirted off to the west, I reached down and just rattled those antlers just a little bit and grunted a couple times with the grunt tube and thought, I'll see if I can't pull him right back around here. Well, nothing happened. I finally turned the camera off. I've got 3 different main cameras going for camera angles, and got a camera on my bow and the whole thing. Got everything shut off, hung the bow back up, and you're sitting there, you're itching, he's over there, you're excited, you're disappointed, you got all this emotions, which it wouldn't take for anything. That's the reason I'm out here doing it. You got all this going on. I think, well, I'm gonna try a little more serious rattling sequence. So I've got everything out of my hands. I pick up and go a pretty typical rattling sequence with those antlers. Get them put back up. Done a couple of grunts. Done a bleat with my mouth. And got ready and waited. Well, nothing happened. I'm not a very patient guy, and especially when I know there's bucks around. When they disappear, don't come back. Seems like forever. But I finally kind of give up. And in the meantime, on the far east side of that field, I had a little small 1.5-year-old buck peek his head out. And kind of seeing what the rattling was, and kind of watching him a little bit, and finally he disappeared. And I'm thinking, well, it's over. But the whole time, that I've been watching this buck on trail camera, seen him a couple of times, in poor light, I'm trying to decide whether he's a 3-year-old buck or a 4-year-old buck. He's a little bit leggy, but turns out I'm pretty sure he's 4-year-old buck. But anyway, I think, well, I'm going to hit my main camera in the playback mode and watch that footage. I had that real good footage from the other side of the field when he came in there 60 yards. I thought, I'm going to watch that footage back and just see what I can see about him. And get that into playback mode and waiting and watching. And finally it gets up there where I'm watching, and I'm stopping it and running it back and watching. And all of a sudden, Bruce, right below my stand where they come out again.
No.
At less than 10 yards.
No.
Here my buck comes out from my left, me with the main camera in playback mode. I start hitting. I'm in a panic. I told you I wasn't a very patient guy. I'm really impatient when something like this starts happening. Here he is just straight under me. He steps on out in that clover, still not 10 yards away, straight out in front, straight broadside, neck stretched up, looking out across to the east out of that big brushy field that I've got, looking to see where that rattling was coming from and those grunts was. I'm punching buttons and panicking, finally punching the button, trying to get the camera back into record mode. Didn't even have time to turn on the second angle cameras. The camera went into a screen that I'd never seen before by double punching a button, I think. I ended up having to turn the camera clear off, clear back on. I'm in panic mode. I do get my bow. He walked on by me to my right. By the time I get the camera on, he's standing by this one little bitty tree limb that's on the tree I'm on that's still holding a few leaves. He's standing, perfectly quartering away behind that. When I get the camera and get it zoomed in, it focuses on those leaves instead of him behind it. So I'm trying to mess with it there a little bit. There again, I'm in a panic, Bruce. I mean, I'm just telling you.
Oh my goodness.
My struggles are real. He's standing there just looking out over that thicket, and I try to swing the camera arm to where I'm going to miss. I've got a perfectly clear shot at him, but I'm trying to swing this camera arm, 2 or 3 foot around to where I'm missing those leaves on that little branch that so I can get the deer on camera when bam, the big ones don't get big by mistake. He catches me moving. I'm like, he's going to get away. I should have let him just walk on out by that or turn around, walk back. You can replay that over a zillion times in your head, but what happened. Anyway, he caught me moving and he took off north and went up there and went in the same spot at 60 yards that he went before. I'm so disappointed and frustrated. I can't stand it. That was an all-day set, and I don't even think I've seen any more deer the rest of the day. That was probably at 9:30 in the morning, and it was a long set. But anyway, so it's getting real. The battle's getting real by this time. That's twice that I've seen him before camera light or after camera light. Now I've pulled this mistake with the camera, and it's getting real. So we'll fast forward to about I think it was about November the 10th. I moved down to another stand that I just set up for this year, a spot that really I'd wanted to stand there since I bought the property back in 1987, but I just never had put one there. I started just a little kill plot with some clover there early in the summer, and I put a stand there that's just right in between that little isolated kill plot and my main big field there, and it's got the forage soybeans out in it and a lot of cover. So anyway, got there. The time was right. I had chasing from daylight to dark in there, but it was all young bucks. 1.5-year-old bucks, 2-year-old bucks. Got some great footage on the camera. This took place on Thursday, Friday, and a little bit on Saturday. So Saturday the 12th, that's opening day of gun season here in Indiana. I'm out there joining the Orange Army in Oma Orange. But I'm out there with my bow. Had that chasing going on. Sitting right, around one of my main bedding areas, just a mini sanctuary on my property that I just don't ever go in, and just a little safe zone for the deer. But I'm catching them coming from one bedding area to the other. Well, actually, let me think this all over. On that Thursday, on that chasing, I'm going to back up just a little bit. I'm going to add that 6-year-old buck back into the story.
All right.
On the evening of Thursday, before gun season opened on Saturday the 12th, I looked across that field, back of my stand, and over in a rake on that side that I got a camera setting up over there, a stealth cam. I looked over and see a pretty good rack. Get the binoculars up, and sure enough, it's that 6-year-old buck. The one I'm probably really wanting to shoot. I got another buck wanting to shoot, but he just hadn't appeared on camera this year. I don't know about him. But anyway, he works his way across that field, and he's north of me, right along the wood line, where you have a hard time seeing, probably 40, maybe 50 yards. The wind's not in my favor here. I'm on a stand. You got activity can come to you from 360 degrees. I've got my set up, where the, in front of me, obviously better with the camera and everything, but I got some shooting lanes out the back. Well, I done a little grunt and a couple bleats with my mouth. And sure enough, here that 6-year-old comes on a string right along the edge of the wood line, that field, and he gets down there, and there again, got one big shooting lane. But when you're self-filming and you're right-handed, you've got the bow in your left hand, and you're operating the camera with your right hand. You can picture that in your mind. Yes. So you got the camera arm coming out. You got the camera arm coming out on your right-hand side, about waist level. and all your activity out there. So imagine that you're going to turn around and shoot out of the backside of the stand on the right side. I can get the bow over that. I feel confident I can get a shot off there, but your camera is over. You got to cross arm, with your bow in your left hand, you got to cross arm to work the camera. The monitor on the camera is on the wrong side. With trifocals, you can't see it over there. Anyway, long story short, he got up there less than 10 yards again. I'd say my struggles continue with the camera here. Got up 10 yards again. The wind wasn't right. He probably caught my scent before he stepped up to that point. Right when he got where he's going to clear the brush, I'm trying to tip the camera down and see the monitor. He caught me up there, busted me, blowed, and took off back to the north. I'm frustrated as can be. So anyway, you don't give up. It's part of the frustration is part of the enjoyment in a weird sense. So I'm back out there on Friday, the night before gun season. There again, a little bit earlier. Here comes that buck across that field again. Got trail camera video footage of him coming out in that field. Got real good footage of him coming across there. Instead of coming up behind me like he did, he cutted through a little neck of cottonwoods trees that I was set up in and come out into that little kill plot that I was telling you. Now, I had two small bucks come through there earlier in the afternoon who both just skirted the edge of that and was out there at 40 yards. I'm shooting a HHA Kingpin, one pin sight with a dial on it. Love the thing. When you shoot trifocals, when you got trifocals, you learn to love that kind of stuff because you got less pins you're concentrating on. But anyway, seeing where he was coming through there, thought he would take the same path as those two young bucks. So went ahead and dialed the sight up to 40 yards. He come through there and kind of checked out. I had him on camera now up close. And this is the 6-year-old buck, the one I really wanted to to harvest this year. He kind of checks up and cuts and comes. I see he's going to come into that little kill plot instead of take that route to other bucks. So I reach up there and I dial the pin back down to 35 yards, thinking I'll be about right. He came, when he decided to move and come on in there, he came even closer. He came to 30 yards. I knew that. I've got all my, I know my distances out there, but getting a camera on him, getting two secondary cameras on him, the whole thing, didn't already had my release clipped in the D loop on the string, had everything set up the way I wanted. This is the diagram you draw out, when the way you want it to happen with the camera and everything. Dead broadside, he comes out there. I know he's at 30. My pin set on 35. No problem. I'm gonna shoot, just a little low. And I did, but anyway, I tried to stop him with the classic meh, meh. Buck did not stop. Finally, I got a little louder and stopped him. I'm in a panic because I know he's walking off screen of the main camera, and I'm already drawn back. And I rushed a shot, Bruce. I'm just going to tell you, I rushed a shot. I shot low, but I actually, since he finally stopped him, same deer was alerted the night before out of the same stand. The deer's going to duck. I needed allow low because my pin was on 35. But if the pin was on 30, I needed to shoot low also because the deer was alerted. Long story short, I got second angle video and stuff of him. He ducked over a foot. I skimmed the top of his back and knew I did. And he run off and then stood over there just out of range and just kind of thumbed his nose at me a little bit more. This is the same buck 2 nights in a row that I just can't pull it off. There again, I'm blaming the camera. You got to blame something, Bruce.
Sure.
I'm blaming the camera on both of them because I just, I knew he was getting off screen. It's what you don't, as a self-filmer, you just don't want that happening. It's real, it's live, it's bow hunting, and it happened. So anyway, that was the story, and got down and looked at my hair. No blood, no nothing. A big ball of hair right where he was standing, and nothing, not so much as anything on the arrow. So I just shaved the hair off top of his back. The deer wasn't hurt. I've seen him on trail camera since. He's not hurt at all. So, but anyway, so now out of that stand, I've got I've got two disappointments with myself, and so this brings me into gun season opening up, and that brings you in a whole new state of mind when the first year for high-powered rifle season here in Indiana, and I'm on small property and thinking I've got, my big one stirred up. Lo and behold, at 4:30 that afternoon, there's this long time 10. I didn't catch him coming across the field because he got the back of the stand, just didn't turn around and catch that action. But he was on my stealth cam over there where he done the same thing as that 6-year-old had done 2 nights before him. He come over there, he turns, he's walking up toward me. Well, I'm thinking I'm not going to turn around my right. I didn't get that pulled off 2 nights ago. I'm going to turn to my left. There again, I'm out of the back of the stand. Picture in your mind, you're in a stand. You're twisting around hard left. You're going to make that shot out the back of the stand. When I walked in that night, I had some deer urine that I, dripped right there on the ground, just so, that was my shooting lane out the back, just so I put it around. So I'm twisted around there. I'm getting all the cameras turned on, the second angle, the third angles, the bow camera. Got this camera arm wrapped clear around me, and I'm hard left out the back of the tree. I don't say a word because he's so close. He's 8 yards. That he's so close that I don't want to spook him, I'm thinking when he gets to that spot, he's going to stop and, sniff that around, and that's when I'm going to have the shot. Well, lo and behold, he never even slowed down whenever he got to that spot. And so that put me trying to stop him. There again, he was less than 10 yards. So I didn't try the mask because I was afraid I'd spook him. I just tried a little with my mouth. He never heard it. It was a little bit windy. And he kept walking. He's getting through the treetops at this point. I had to move the camera now. There again, it was a kind of a difficult situation. When I finally had a little shooting window through the treetops, he had just walked where I just got the lower half of his body on the main camera. I got good footage on the second camera, but anyway, it was a hard quartering away. I confident with the shot. I made the shot, hit him what I thought was back in the flank, and shooting a 508 grain Black Eagle deep impact arrow. That arrow, goes clear through the deer, long ways, and I know the business end of that thing's up where it needs to be. He takes off running straight south through these standing soybeans that's growed up in foxtail, and from my perspective, I just seen him disappear out there about 50 yards. Holy smokes, it's like all the weight in the world's lifted off your shoulder. You think you've pulled it off, and everything looks good. Well, there again, gun season in. Last thing I want to do is push a deer off my property in front of a gun hunter, So at 4:30 in the afternoon, I decided I'm going to wait till dark to get down. I keep talking about the roller coaster. The roller coaster's at a pretty high right now. So wait till dark, get down, go out there and kind of try to check the spot where I thought he was. Nothing there. Well, cleared into my field, didn't find anything. The roller coaster is going back down the hill pretty bad at this point. Finally found right where he had cut and went into this little mini sanctuary I'm telling you about. And I found one little speck of blood there. There again, just what you expected. You hit a deer back through the guts, no exit wound. The gut's going to plug that back wound. I tracked him in there. Maybe 40 or 50 yards, but just definite trail. This is an area where there's little beaver pond, there's willows that's been chewed off and then sprout back up. You have to stay on definite trails. The only way I was finding blood was I was on definite trail and you just run into it. Tracked him in there and finally just lost blood when that kind of opened up. I was 35 yards from the creek and it kind of opened up and there was just, you could have went right, left, forward, didn't know, and I could never find any more blood. Well, much as I hated to, I needed to back out. So I backed out, long sleepless night, got back down there. There again, I'm in my sanctuary where I've been seeing 3 or 4 days of chasing come out of, and hate it. I got to get in there and with them lined up with 30-06s all around me, you know, and track a deer. But go in there, couldn't find any further blood. Tracked. My son had come out after he got done. We done a little grid search in that area. Never found sign of anything. I know. I watched the footage over and over. I know it's a killing shot. And the frustration is really real at this point. This is on Sunday after it shot him. Grid search my property. There again, a buck like that can get in a little rough spot. I had got such habitat that you could walk right by one awful easy and never find him. So the longer it went, the more disappointing it got. I ended up searching that whole day, found nothing. That was Sunday. Monday, more of the same. Searched different areas, kept searching. Tuesday, I had another buddy of mine come down. He helped me. I also, on Monday evening, had got permission from a West property owner to go up there and search, which was the original bedding area I kept seeing this buck come out of earlier, you know. So I thought maybe that might be a place he had. Searched that, nothing. Was trying to get a hold of the South property owner the whole time. Never could find anybody over there. Finally, on Tuesday, my buddy, he had a way he knew how to look up property owners, and we got a phone number and tried that, never got anybody. But anyway, I ended up trying to get a hold of the East property owner. I knew he wasn't over there, but I thought maybe that property owner knew the other one. And he didn't, but he knew a name, and he ended up texting me back a phone number. So I left a big, long, lengthy voicemail on Tuesday morning, I think it was. Finally, Tuesday afternoon, this is where the story really gets a little bit weird. Tuesday afternoon, I had a buddy that I used to run around with when I was in high school, hadn't seen or heard from him in 40 years, call me. And he said, "Is this the Tim Conley that I know?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I guess." He said, "Well, so-and-so forwarded me your voicemail and wanted me to give you a call." I said, "Well, wait, I don't understand." I said, "Do you work for this guy or something or what?" And he said, "Well, he's my brother-in-law." So as odd as that sounds, I had a guy that I hadn't seen 40 years, but I knew quite well, call me. He said, "Well, let me see if I can get a hold of him, tell him what's going on, see if we can get permission to go over there and grid search that." And I said, "I don't want to hunt their whole property. I just, thinking that deer is going to stop." He didn't stop in my thicket. I tracked him about 107 yards. Didn't know how far he'd go on a shot like that, but couldn't help but think he's going to stop, first thicket he got to. So anyway, he called back later that night and said, "I've still not got a hold of those folks." He said, "I'm going to keep trying." So Wednesday morning, first thing he called me, he said he got a hold of them. So they really didn't want people on the property, but they understood the situation. And I just wanted to go over and look. They wasn't hunting that day. It'd be all right. So I go over there, start on my south property line. I walk it east and west. It's about 20 yards off my property. I'm going to do a grid search. I'm gonna back the story up just a little bit here. On either Monday or Sunday, I can't remember which day, when I was at the creek, thinking that deer may have dumped right down in the creek and went south, I was searching south of my property with field glasses. I ended up seeing this buck and didn't realize it was this buck or him. It was about 50 yards off my property, right along the edge of the creek. There was a down tree there with another tree going up beside it. And I was looking through the field glasses, focusing in and out for what distance I was. And I see what looks like a rack behind that down tree. And I look at it, and I look at it, and I look at it, and it was little short, stubby-looking tines if it was a rack. And I think, that's not my deer. My deer is a long-time deer. I'm thinking, that's another buck that's bedded there. And I look at it, and I take the field glasses down and look at it with the naked eye, and I'm thinking, well, the tree's coming up, looks about 2 foot across. And I look at it again and think, well, that portion of what I think's a rack there, that's longer than what that tree is. There's no way that's a deer's rack that's that big. I looked at it some more. I ended up talking myself. There's a lot of sycamore trees up and down that creek, and talked myself into that being a white-looking sycamore limb that had fallen down there, and didn't think much about it. Went ahead and searched some more. Ended up coming back to that spot and looking at it again because I still thought it might be a bedded buck. And looking at it again, nothing had moved, and thinking, nah, that's a tree limb. So anyway, I'm over there on Wednesday and hadn't been there long, got back down the creek and seen that spot over there. I thought, I'm going to look at that spot again just to see. And I put the field glasses up, of course, a little different angle. I couldn't see his rack, but I could see that bare rib cage where the coyotes had got him.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, it was short work. I crossed the creek. The creek's real shallow. I mean, that's what I say. I'd say the deer probably run. He was 50 yards off my property. Disappointing that was what I had seen either 2 days before or whatever. I'm quite sure the deer, from the looks of the arrow, it done, just exactly what I thought. I'm sure the deer run to there and it expired. The coyotes had a field day, obviously, with him. There wasn't much left on him on the side that was up, and I kind of flopped him around on the other side. I got a hold of my daughter, and she come down and helped me, and got some good pictures and some closer video, for the show and everything like that. But grateful that I found him. Seems only fitting after the emotional and the struggle that I had with this deer so many times, and the rest of the season and the struggle with the camera. It's bow hunting. Fortunately, it's been quite a while, but in my younger days, I lost a few deer. Anybody's bow hunt has.
Oh, sure.
And it's frustrating, especially when you know, and you never know for sure till you find the deer. But when you think you got a good killing shot on there, it's frustrating to know that. But
Tim, with the hard stop, I mean, that's one heck of a story, and I know our listeners throughout North America is going to like it. Why don't you take a minute or two to give some shout outs, and then we'll wrap the show because we're by the hard stop here.
Okay. Well, I, shout out to bowhunting.com. I appreciate the opportunity. Todd Graff and the crew over there gave me to film my hunts. It brought a whole new level. I want to thank my buddy Michael Felton, come down and help me search for that deer. My son was down there. Clint, my daughter, come down there and help me do some recovery footage. I want to thank everybody on the social media, Facebook, Instagram, that followed this story as it was unfolding. Their prayers, their thoughts, their well wishes, and their congratulations. Bruce, I want to thank you and Whitetail Rendezvous. It's been quite an opportunity to be able to share this story a little more in depth with your listeners.
Well, our pleasure. On behalf of thousands of whitetail hunters across North America, this is a great story, and I thank you for lining it out for us and going through the difficulties and a lot of lessons learned. So on behalf of all our listeners, Tim, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Bruce.
Hey, folks, I can't believe it's Christmas. It's December time. Christmas is coming. But we got a great episode with a good friend, Chase Bauman. Chase was on the show. He was number 18. So a long time ago, Chase was on the show. And he wants to bring us up to date what's going on with Bound for Blood.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.